Welcome back to Bombastic Nation and Ting and Ting and Ting. Back with another vibe for all you. And this one is called 10 Dark Scandinavian Legends. I'm really interested in watching these things because I want to see how the legends are similar around the world and thing. Comment down below of any legends that your grandparents or great grandparents have told you. I know this stuff is like a dying thing because of modernization, but anything you heard, let us know. So let's YouTube and sim and see what this year is about.
Scandinavian folklore is among the darkest. Some of the most chilling legends told by our species have their origins here. Tales from Norse mythology tend to be whimsical in tone. The legends I tell you today will not be like that. From ill-conceived satanic pacts to terrifying beasts, here are 10 dark Scandinavian legends. There is a monster that lives deep within a cave. The cave is hidden by large mountains, making it almost impossible to find, and those who do by chance enter the cave will soon be cannibalized. The monster inside is a giant, hideous ogress. She rarely leaves her cave, but occasionally does during thick snowstorms. She walks into remote villages and small towns looking for sleeping children. With her long arms and sharp claws, she pulls young children out of their homes and drags them away. By the time the children's parents realize she has vanished into the storm, back at her cave, she cuts the children into pieces and cooks them into a stew to feed her own 70 children. After decades of losing children to her, an angry mob once gathered to hunt down and kill the ogress. They followed the creature into a snowstorm and, just like the children, were never seen again.
Sounds a little bit like the Supuya, who came to a ball of fire at night, and in some of the cultures they would take young babies and rip them to shreds and stuff like that. That's exactly what that sounds like. That's kind of cool. Not cool, but you know what I mean. Cool in a cultural sense, is similar to something that doesn't really mesh, if you know what I mean, or the two separate cultures and separate areas and things like that. But it's similar to it.
In the Middle Ages, children born outside of wedlock were seen as abominations. As their existence was a crime against God, they would often be denied baptism and abandoned to die. This practice was called utbird, meaning that which is taken outside. After the child's inevitable death alone in the wild, they would be denied a proper burial. Without this or baptism, they were not taken to heaven. The ghosts of these abandoned children remain, wandering the earth. They look like children but with partially decaying skin and pitch black eyes. People were warned not to travel through remote Scandinavian areas alone at night, as the ghost children attack lone travelers. They are agile under the cover of darkness. Before their victim realizes the ghost is near, it jumps onto the traveler's back. It demands the traveler take them to a graveyard before sunrise. As the morning comes closer, the ghost will become angry and violent. If you don't reach a graveyard by dawn, they will break your neck and disappear. Only reaching a graveyard can ensure your safety, but the closer you get, the heavier the ghost child becomes. Few survive encounters with them. They are the most feared ghosts in Scandinavia. Many centuries ago, there was a notorious debt collector. He was a cruel man, and so hated in his village that locals called on the devil to claim his soul. After summoning Satan by unknown means, they demanded he take the man to hell. The devil was tempted by the man's soul, as it was an especially dark one, but he was reluctant to do the bidding of humans, so the man was able to negotiate with him. They made a new deal, as the man was able to trick even Satan. If they could find someone to ask the devil to take a different soul, the man would be free. Eventually they encountered an old woman who was forced to be mute, but she now spoke, asking the devil to take the debt collector's soul. For years she had watched him cheat and abuse others, but never said anything. The Black Death might have killed 50% of all people in Europe. Most
Whoa!
people know of it, but few people know how the disease spread. There is a creature that brings mass death with it. Little is known about the creature. It takes on the appearance of an old woman carrying a rake or a broom. If carrying a broom, everyone in the village she visits will die. If carrying a rake, they will have a chance to survive. It was this creature who brought the plague to Scandinavia. It went with her. One village survived the plague by never allowing people carrying...
You know what that is? Conspiracy theory. See what I mean? They didn't have the technology to say, well, this person did it, this person did it. So they create a whole creature to say that the creature caused the Black Plague back in Europe. All the conspiracy theories.
A broom to enter it. The village was isolated by a small island, but the ferry operator grew blind. One day he met an old woman, so he asked if she was carrying a broom. She said no. By the time they crossed the lake, everyone in the village was already dead. She was the creature and had lied to him.
Again, walkers.
Hidden within burial mounds in the coldest and most remote parts of Scandinavia are strange undead creatures known as Agenwalkers. They are not ghosts but the reincarnated corpses of dead humans. They are the spirits of those who died at sea. Denied access to heaven or hell, the spirits enter ancient corpses and walk the earth again. They mostly remain in their burial mounds but sometimes emerge to spread their kind. Just a bite or scratch from an Agenwalker is enough to transform a living person into one. Normal weapons are useless against them as they are already dead. Your only option on seeing an undead is to run. They can sometimes visit humans in our dreams. Dreaming of them means one of two things. Either you will be driven insane by it, or a horde of undead is coming to kill everyone you know, and you will be the last to die. There was once a very poor man. For as long as he could remember, he was the poorest person in his village, but within him was intense ambition and resentment. He made a deal with the devil. In return for his soul, the devil gave him a mill that could produce unlimited amounts of any substance, from grain to gold and silver. The devil also taught him the magical way to turn off the mill. He became fabulously wealthy. One day he allowed his brother to use the mill, but the brother didn't know how to turn off the mill, and it soon buried the whole town in grain. To make sure this would never happen again, he decided to sell the mill. The captain of a merchant ship paid a large fortune for the mill. He then started to explain how to turn off the mill, but blinded by greed, the captain murdered him before he could tell, for fear he would undo their deal. The captain loaded the mill onto his ship, but couldn't wait. Midway through the journey home, he started producing salt with the mill. At first he was delighted, but as salt surrounded him, he was unable to stop the mill. His ship sank to the ocean floor and he drowned with it.
Greed. Don't be greedy.
There have been many plagues and many superstitious solutions. There was a time when it must have seemed like every village had its own method of preventing plagues. One remote village used human sacrifice. Many centuries ago they tried every known method, but when all failed, they in desperation took a young child and buried him alive. The boy screaming horrified those who covered him with dirt, but the old man who advised this insisted they let him die. The plague died down after the boy's death, and from that day, at the first sign of any plague, a small child was buried alive in that village.
Wow.
At the bottom of rivers and small lakes are sometimes found mysterious beings. The exact nature of these beings is unknown, but they are shapeshifters known to play irresistible music on enchanted violins. Lone travelers passing by hear the music and feel drawn towards it by a force they can't fight. Following the music into the water, the creature will then show itself as a beautiful woman and lure the traveller closer. But when you get close enough, it will grab you and transform into its true form, that of an old man with yellow eyes and freakishly long arms. He wraps his arms around you and drags you underwater to drown.
Wow. These are some vicious things.
Stockholm subway is said to be home to a mysterious train known as Silver Pylon, which means silver arrow. It can only ever be seen stopping at stations which are now abandoned, usually by subway workers or urban explorers. It's always empty but with lights lit like a functional train, and so those who see it are often lured onto the train. But the moment they step foot onto the carriage, the door closes behind them. The train will then begin to move. A minority of passengers will return maybe several months or years later, in a state of confusion, but most who step onto the train simply disappear and are never seen again.
Wow. It's crazy stuff.
It's said that before recorded history, a group of Nordic women underwent a ceremony to ease the pain of childbirth, but the ceremony did not go as planned. Black magic was used, and it would cause the women more pain than they could have imagined. They were no longer mortal, and every night they transform into werewolves.
Whoa.
The transformation would be slow as their skeleton physically changes and their teeth and claws grow long. An uncontrollable rage now takes grip of them and they kill any human they encounter. Their children will be just like them, transforming every day at midnight. The descendants of those women may still be out there, doing wolf things.
They still out there? As a single man, that's kind of scary to hear. I could go there and date one of them werewolf women until, anything thanks for I'm enjoying this. This stuff is cool as could be. You know what I mean? But keep watching. Because I got more stuff like that in the playlist there. So keep watching. Y'all will enjoy it, I promise you. Cool, right?